When a religious movement builds a professional football field to coax you into their circle, it's bound to be weird, right? Well, that's just what happened to David Beckham when his friend Tom Cruise tried to talk him into the Church of Scientology. Today, in this video, we'll be looking at the influence of Scientology practiced by Tom Cruise on celebrities like Beckham. Let's begin with how Scientology built Tom a field to entice David Beckham. It's not uncommon to hear disturbing stories of abuse, crimes, and suffering from former members of cult-like movements such as Scientology. Still, it's bound to turn heads when it comes from a high-profile member of such a religious organization. Mike Rinder is one such former official. In his book, A Billion Years: My Escape from a Life in the Highest Ranks of Scientology, Mike Rinder recounted how Cruise reportedly tried to charm David Beckham and his wife Victoria Beckham into the Church of Scientology. He confessed that Scientology valued Cruise's contribution to the church so much that they had them at his every beck and call. Mike Rinder himself joined when he was just 5 years old. His family took him to visit the Church of Scientology International, and before he knew it, he signed a billion-year contract with Sea Org fresh out of high school. This contract meant that he had to serve Scientology in this lifetime and all the ones to come. Moving on, let's look at the high profile of Scientology leader Mike Rinder's account of Tom Cruise. The story gets wilder when you hear that the church not only built a football field, they paid attention to detail and had it manicured to perfection so that Tom could essentially allure Beckham into joining ranks with him. It's interesting to note that the church appointed a full-time gold staff caretaker for the field so that it could keep in its best shape until Cruise introduced it to Beckham. This tactic, however, never worked, and the Beckhams refused to be a part of Scientology. Rinder wrote in his book that the church sought to go to the ends of the earth to keep Cruise happy. In turn, Tom Cruise, one of the world's most famous faces, tried his best to get other celebrities on board with the church's beliefs. Next up, how did such a charismatic actor get into a cult-like organization anyway? You'd think celebrities with everything would be smart enough to stay away from cult-like religions, but such is not the case. Once Cruise skyrocketed to fame with his film Top Gun, he met Mimi Rogers, his first wife. Rogers introduced Cruise to Scientology, and the rest was soon history. Cruise instantly got sucked into the world of Scientology and immediately became its most vocal member in public. Former members of the elusive church attribute Tom Cruise's dedication to Scientology to his lack of curiosity and his love for grandeur, albeit being a well-meaning man for the most part. The church hands him almost anything he desires. It's hard for him to avoid being offered luxury, especially since he does not know the cost. Furthermore, what does Tom Cruise get out of Scientology exactly? Ex-members have listed the luxuries given to Cruise by Scientology numerous times, but the full extent of his exploits from the religious organization comes with a darker cost. Former member John Brousseau notes that Scientology made it their job to build custom vehicles for the actor and provide staff for his several houses and cruises. Well, these benefits are good, and all the sources of labor for these benefits come from shady means. Sea Org, an association of Scientology through which the hiring of labor for Cruise is carried out, has repeatedly been accused of forced labor and human trafficking. While the church rejects such claims, former members have come out on several occasions to refute them. The list of what Tom Cruise gets out of Scientology is endless. They manage his life to the extent that they have even meddled in his marriages to keep him from leaving the church. A prime example of this is his floundering marriage to Nicole Kidman. When Cruise strayed from the church, they targeted the apparent villain and fixated on Kidman's unintelligibility to the church's beliefs. Perhaps the most significant thing Tom Cruise gets out of being a Scientology member is his constant need to be the hero. The church gives him a purpose and a sense of accomplishment. Similarly to his films, at the end of the day, he alone wants to save the day. Let's look at what we can expect from Mike Rinder's book. It recently came out on the 27th of September and will discuss Rinder's experience in the church in depth. The key members he'll be revealing secrets about would include Tom Cruise, one of its most esteemed members. Sources say the book will also weigh in on the church's role in the many divorces of Tom Cruise and how it affected all of his former wives. Interestingly, the story of the church's involvement in Cruise's life began right from his first marriage to Mimi Rogers and instigated their eventual divorce. In his book, Rinder reveals that at the core of every action taken is to be involved in Cruise's life. The church sought firstly to protect itself against any threat brought on by his wives or colleagues. Even while people like Mimi Rogers grew up in the belief system, her association with her father mother, who left the system, made her an easy enemy of their image. Not only did the church help end this marriage, but it helped Cruise get on with Nicole Kidman. Besides the apparent habit of coaxing celebrities to follow suit, perhaps the most intriguing bit in the book is where readers will find out what led to Katie Holmes' 2-year plan to divorce the actor and keep custody of her daughter. The real-life story is nothing short of a premise for a thriller film, complete with the use of burner phones and multiple lawyers. While publicly the church refuses and rejects all of these claims, it's hard not to give due attention to someone like Rinder, whose lived experience in Scientology has been nothing short of a roller coaster. Now moving on to other news: forced Australian labor, child trafficking, and the many allegations against Scientology. Australians have lodged complaints against the Church of Scientology for its numerous crimes. 3 residents came forward detailing accounts of sexual assaults, forced labor, child trafficking, and other abusive practices normalized by them. Gawain Baxter, Laura Baxter, and Valeska Paris want to hold Scientology leader David Miscavige and other related organizations accountable for human trafficking. The 3 plaintiffs had signed the infamous billion-year contract and were part of the Sea Org and Cadet Org, respectively. They didn't know signing that contract would mean they'd provide the organization with cheap and often free labor. They recounted that their salaries were often withheld from them and were set to $50 per week. After spending more than a decade on a cruise ship with a life riddled with emotional, psychological, and physical abuse, the 3 have come forth with harrowing accounts of what went down on the ship. One reported she was confined to a hot engine room for days as punishment. Moving forward, let's look at Scientology's tactic to get free workers. An 86-page legal claim from US-based law firms offers a detailed account for children separated from their parents at the tender ages of 6 or 5. It's reported that they had to give up custody of their kids to Sea Org and Cadet Org, which ensured they could only visit their families once a month. The org members can't live in their homes because they become indentured workers on land and sea. When they are a part of these organizations, they become knee-deep in debts, following them if they choose to leave. These disturbing accounts tell us what Scientology hides behind its beautiful celebrity figures living off indentured people's labor. One of the plaintiffs, Gawain Baxter, recounted that he'd been living with hundreds more children in a dorm when he was just 6 years old as a part of Cadet Org. He was only 10 years old when he was allowed to meet his parents for only 3 hours every week. He was allowed little education because he spent 10 hours doing unpaid labor. He argues that Scientology must be held accountable for its crimes and human rights violations. If they're not held liable, he says, many defenseless minors and people will continue to suffer at their hands. Finally, John Travolta moving away from Scientology. John Travolta, like Tom Cruise, has been among the Church of Scientology's most famous members. He joined it in 1975 and was so engrossed in the system that he even made a film adaptation of the church founder L. Ron Hubbard's novel. He's quoted to have admitted that the actor felt most supported by the church when his son passed away. During this trying time in his life, the church never failed to offer comfort to his family, which helped him stay loyal to the cause. In recent times, however, it appears he's moving away from Scientology, especially after his wife's death from breast cancer. After her passing, Travolta took to Instagram to thank the medical centers that helped his wife in her ongoing battle with cancer. Scientology condemns its followers from receiving specific medical treatments, such as chemotherapy, while spokespersons deny any of these rumors. Just after a year of his wife's death, Travolta has sold his house that used to be a mile away from Scientology headquarters. If that isn't a dead giveaway, we don't know what is. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think of the Church of Scientology? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.